You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day. Or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help.
The FHN network is sponsored in part by Hoddle Services. If you're looking for a disc jockey, karaoke host, video jockey to videographer, our company can help. With over 20 years of experience, we would be happy to help with your special event within Ontario, Canada. You can contact us at 226-988-2895 or visit us at our website at hoddleservices.vpweb.ca. That's HODDLE Services. We look forward to hearing from you and helping with your special event.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? And thanks for tuning in to Season 2, Episode 14 of Off the Puck Hockey on the FHN Network. I'm your host, Tyler Fines, and you can catch Off the Puck on Rogers TV Channel 20 every Saturday night at 9 p.m. You can also view our live recordings on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Just follow at Off the Puck Hockey for dates and times to check us out. Proud partner of West Coast ASTV, joining one of the fastest growing networks in North America. Mr. Styles is taking the day off, so it's up to Mike Walker and I to keep the train moving. What's going on, sir?
Not too much. I got a nice day outside today, so I've been playing outside with the kids a little bit and excited to get today rolling.
Yeah, we're the same. Beautiful day out. We got the kids out riding bikes, and I think it's going to get pretty windy here and cold over the next few days, so I want to get them out before we get unofficially locked down once again. Leafs, lots going on in the hockey world, though. Leafs are clinched a playoff spot. Pens clinched a playoff spot. Lots of the playoff are shaping up. And again, lots of great hockey to come with about 10 games remaining for most clubs. Great guest today. Really excited about this one. Local boy, all the way from beautiful Port Dover. We welcome head coach for the semi-pro Chiefs, Leuven. Probably butchered that. All the way from Belgium, Coach Gil Paelinck. What's going on, sir?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm glad that you called me a boy. I saw that opening clip there with all those old guys playing, and I'm probably about the same age as those guys. So,
yeah, our producer Matty Huddle does a good job with our intro videos and all that, the stuff that I can't do very well. But and we're definitely lucky to have them. So, how's everything going in Belgium? What time is it over there right now?
6 in the evening, I think. Yeah, we're about it's 6 hour difference. You guys are in Dover, or where are you located?
I'm in Cambridge, and obviously Mikey Walks is in the beautiful God's country of Port Dover, Ontario.
Nice. Yeah, over here, the weather's good. Spring's coming. We're hoping that things are starting to open up here, so that's nice. I was just saying before we started here that they're looking at opening the outdoor cafes and stuff in early May. So we're moving forward. I hope. You never know.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I've been looking online at the case in Belgium just to be curious, and a lot similar to what we got going on here. And hopefully, eventually, they'll start again unlocking everything and letting people come back out and feel human again. What actually I want to talk a bit about Belgium. What's the weather like there? Is it a 4-season? Is it got the full 4 seasons? One shorter than the other.
I would say easiest way to explain it: the winters don't get as cold and the summers don't get as hot as Southern Ontario. But a lot of rain in the winter. It's tough. Though I hate the winters. It's gray and raining all the time. summers are good. Doesn't get as hot as it would be in Southern Ontario, but it a little more moderate. But yeah, it's good.
That's great. And how long have you been over in Belgium now?
Too long. I went over to. I started in the fall of 1990.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was supposed to be 1 year. I was going to go and try to make a team. I couldn't get, obviously I couldn't get a contract or anything up front. I wanted to. I was trying to get a tryout. I got a tryout, and the intention was to play a bit of hockey, travel a bit, see the world. Like I was pretty green. I grew up on a farm in Wyndham Center. I hadn't really been a lot of places in my life, and a lot, it just, yeah, I thought I was going over for a year and I'd be back on the farm, and my dad wanted me back on the farm too, but it didn't work out that way, and now we're 32 years later.
So what made you stay? Like, what was the draw? Because like you said, you started playing in 1990. Right, as a player, and you put up some damn good points, especially in '97 when you put up 160 bomb. Had a really good year there. But just what drew you to just stick around? Girlfriend.
Well, there's always girls involved, and cheap beer was involved too. But it was one of those situations. I really didn't know what I was going to do. I just finished playing some senior A hockey, and at that time, it's funny. The senior A league in Ontario at that time had a lot of guys that were, there was some ex-NHLers in the league, like Rocky Saginaw and whatever was playing in the league. There were a lot of guys that came out of major junior that were playing in the league. And there were a lot of guys that were either going to Europe or coming back from Europe at that time. And this is what got me thinking about it. When Mikey talked to me about doing this interview, I started thinking to myself, how did this actually start? And that's what got it going. I talked to a few people, about it, and I thought, what, I'm going to try this. I'm just going to try and find a team, get somebody to give me a chance for a tryout. And again, we're talking before email and everything. I was sending faxes and phone calls and stuff, trying to find a team to try out for, and tried out, made a team. I had a good season, and after that, it was kind of, you want to do this another year? And I kept saying, okay, I'll come back next year. And there was no contracts. There was nothing like that involved. It was just, I'll come back another year. I'll come back another year. And then, other things started, and that's it.
Awesome. I want to just press the rewind button on you here, Gil, and just kind of touch in on where you fell in love with the game, where you played growing up, and that sort of history.
Yeah, well, I'm from Waterford. I played my minor hockey in Waterford and my junior in Waterford as well. I was lucky enough to play with Nelson Emerson. He was a year younger than me, so I played all the way up through to midget with him. Played for my junior team in Waterford as well, and then went and played senior A in Tillsonburg. And kept thinking, you got to quit and get a real job, right? That's, at some point. And when you asked earlier about why I came over here, I always think I have to tell this one story. My first summer when I came back to Canada, I landed, and of course I hooked up with some buddies, and we went out and had a few beers and stuff. And I get to sleep about 4:30 in the morning. I get a phone call from my dad that a load of straw came in, and we had to unload it at 5. And I'm like, yeah, you're kidding me. Yeah, leave me alone. I hang up the phone. He phones again. Get over here. I'm like, I hang up the phone again. My mom phones. He really needs you. You got to get over here. And I started thinking to myself, this hockey thing, even though I didn't make a lot of money, is a pretty good gig compared to farm life at this point. So that made me love it, I think, even more.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you ever think about going back to the farm? Like, was there a point you're like, that's it, I'm going back?
You know what? The farm industry was in a really tough state in the early 90s. I grew up on a tobacco farm, and my parents had to make that difficult switch from tobacco to ginseng. So, and I remember my dad at some point saying, I don't know, maybe the farm won't be here in the future, kind of thing. And I went to college. I took business. I worked for an insurance company for a bit, but that really wasn't my thing at all. I really didn't know what I was going to do, and this just happened. really.
That's awesome. Well, so talk a little bit about Belgium and everything that's going on there. What's so beautiful about Belgium? And just talk about the people there.
Well, Belgium. If you ask people I didn't even know where Belgium was before I got here. When you talk about Belgium, it's such a small country, but I'm a couple hours to France. I'm a couple hours to Holland. I'm a couple hours to Great Britain. Everything is close. Recently, we've spent our summers in Greece, in Spain, in Italy, in Morocco, in Turkey, and all these. And this is all accessible from here, so easy. So as far as Belgium itself, it's such a small country. I don't think it's much bigger than Norfolk County, to be honest. You've got three languages in that small little area. Sometimes they don't play nice with each other, the different languages, but I guess in Canada you grew up with that. I think we do the same.
Yeah.
It's the one thing it's known for is the beer, and it has a real beer culture that I really should have thought about when I first came over here. My first year when I came over, there's thousands of beers in Belgium and all these little microbreweries everywhere. Every little town's got its own brewery, and I remember thinking, like, you grew up in Canada, and at that time, let's talk the 90s. Every beer kind of tasted the same in Canada, it just had a different label on it. And all of a sudden, I land in Belgium where there's different colors and smells and all these dark beer, light beer, beer made with cherries and bananas and mango and all this stuff.
Wow. Okay.
And so I remember thinking, would this fly in Canada? And then, I come home for the summer and everyone's just, pounding back they're arguing what's better, blue or Canadian. And that they're the same. I remember thinking, would this fly? And now I see that there's microbreweries all over Southern Ontario and all over Canada and then all over the States. And so, yeah, I maybe missed the boat on that one. I should have jumped on that one early.
I just love the pictures that you just Google Belgium and just take the images box. Like, I mean, there are so many beautiful, looks like cathedrals and water and stone front, and the roads are cobblestone. Like, I just think that would have such a cool feeling. So just talk about kind of where you are and what your area is like. Like, what's the population of where your little town is?
The city of Leuven. No, I live outside of Leuven now, but Leuven is a beautiful city. I know if you Google Leuven, you're going to get the town hall immediately, and that building is, I don't know, probably must be 600 years old. It's beautiful. The downtown, like most European cities, wow. The center of the city is always really beautiful. You've got cafes, restaurants. There's that they call that I don't know, cafe life. All the streets where the little terraces out front and everything. It's cozy, it's fun, and that was one of the things I fell in love with first. And I wasn't sure if it was just me. I thought maybe you drink too much beer, Gil. But my parents came over, and that was the thing that they immediately saw too. They were like, "It's so cozy, it's so nice." And my dad, I was over here 8 or 9 years before my parents came over, and they every summer I got it. Why are you going back there? What do you want to do there? Come on, this is ridiculous. You need a real job, and I kind of do have one, but I didn't want to argue about it. But when they came over, they were immediately like, "Okay, we get it. We understand why you're here. Good choice." So
I've been trying to tell my wife why we got to get out of Cambridge or do something different, or pack up and just try something new. You never know what'll come of it, right? Whether it's going to another country or going down south to the U.S., take a leap of faith, and you never know what'll come from it.
That's the big, getting on the plane the first time and leaving. A friend of mine drove me up to the airport. I had a hockey bag and a couple of sticks and a little gym bag with a couple of pairs of pants and t-shirts in it. And I remember saying to myself, this is crazy. What am I doing? But it's that thing. It's that leap of faith. You don't know what's going to happen. I had no idea. I had no idea where I was going. It was all scary. It's all exciting. I look back now, I can't believe that you decide to do this at that age. But yeah, it's all exciting, all fun, and obviously I'm glad I did it. But it's tough. It's hard. That's for sure.
No question. And my old coach, assistant coach, and he said something to me that stuck with me the entire life: is nothing better to see the world than with a hockey bag on your back. That really is exactly kind of the experience it sounds like you went through. when you first got started. So, talk about the hockey in Belgium. When you first started playing, like what was it compared to, maybe here in North America?
I coming out of the senior A league, the level, I would say, skill level was close. But it was nowhere near as physical at all. Like my I came over thinking, oh, okay, I'm trying out. I don't know how skilled I am. I don't know how I'm gonna just work my ass off. I'm gonna go out and throw big hits. And my first game, I dumped the puck in the zone. I fly down. I smash some guy in the boards. I immediately get a penalty. I'm thinking I'm pumping up the team. I'm sitting in the penalty box, and it was one of those setups where the penalty box was right next to your team bench. So the official bench is in the middle, penalty boxes, team benches. And my whole team is ragging on me. They're like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Are you trying to kill that guy? And I'm looking at them like, I thought I was doing all right here.
Isn't that the game? I thought we hit in this game.
Yeah. So it was. I immediately realized I had to ease it up a bit. It was like I was told before I went over. It was a skilled game, and so I didn't know if my style was really going to fit. But so I eased up a little bit, and things worked out. But
just to piggyback off of that, Gil, just with where you are at with the game now, how would you compare the pro leagues and even the junior hockey there to what it is here as well?
Well, junior hockey anywhere in the world will never be as serious as it is in Canada. I don't think growing up in Canada, we look up to major junior hockey. It's hard to sell junior hockey in Europe. All kids want to get out of that as soon as possible and move up and play for their pro team in their own club they're with. So sense. That's and I think you see that and for a while, this when you see this at World Championships and stuff, the players playing junior hockey, at the World Championships, the junior players, they're playing junior hockey in Canada. The players that are representing almost every other country there are playing pro hockey, senior hockey. So it's a different game already. It's not that you see how they play when you watch it. When you watch World Champions, U18s are on right now. You see that immediately. The Canadians play. It's that hard, aggressive, hard hitting pound. That's junior hockey. It's high energy, pounding hockey. Where a lot of these guys are already playing a more chess game style of hockey. Right.
Interesting. Yeah, though that's intriguing to me. And when I was coaching the Orangeville Americans in the GMHL, all the kids that came over from Europe, they said the same thing. It's like, we don't want to play junior because then we're not getting paid. But once we get up into a certain bracket, then we start at least making money. You're getting some things taken care of. It doesn't matter if you're 18 to 20. Normally, if you have any type of talent, you're going to find a home, especially in some of those small countries. Is Belgium kind of the same? Like, what's their minor system like?
Any kid that's decent in under 20 is playing senior hockey.
Yes.
I have no issues, and I've done this a lot. A majority. There's a time when I had in my top 3 lines, I probably had 5 or 6 kids that were under 20.
Wow.
So and kind of disperse them within the 3 lines, but you want to get them up playing that because they're not learning anything anymore in junior hockey at that point.
Okay.
So. Yeah. Okay.
Our coach again. Go ahead, dear. Go walk. Sorry.
That's funny to see because I know my last year junior playing overage with Norwich, we had probably 16 guys over the age of or 20 years of age or older, which it's kind of crazy to hear that they're not even playing it.
Yeah. But you know what? If you think about it in Canada, when you're done junior hockey, if you don't go to the East Coast and now you can make money in the SP and stuff like that. But if you don't make that jump, like senior hockey has never been much. It doesn't draw big. And I know that they've got that they call it Allen Cup hockey right now, the old senior league. I don't know what they're drawing. I'm sure that that's good hockey, but a lot of people, when they start playing that, it's combined with a job and, but it's good hockey, but it doesn't, I don't know if it's drawing big crowds, but
there's maybe at a big game you might see 1,000 people at a game, maybe.
Yeah, but you could easily see junior games with over 1,000, no problem.
Oh, for sure, exactly.
See, it's the opposite here. You wouldn't get more than a couple hundred at a junior game, but the seniors immediately it's stadiums are full. So.
Wow.
Crazy. Huh. So yeah, I'm still curious about the prospect of European countries and, countries like Belgium, who, they got a pretty good population, you got 11 million people there. It's not huge, but the prospect of them ever becoming some type of hockey hotbed, is that even possible in Belgium, or are they just too far behind? Like, it's just not, they're not going to be able to make that jump.
I've been asked this one so many times. I was involved with the national team for a number of years. I got a Belgian passport in my early 30s. I played 8 years for the Belgian national team. I coached the under-20 national team 1 year, and then I coached the senior national team, I think 6 years. It starts immediately with it's not that easy to get guys to even want to go with the national team. Then that may sound crazy, but
yeah.
Guys will be like, yeah, but I got to take off, a week and a half off work, and the camp leading up to it, it's every night we're on the ice and everything. And I've got a day job, and so you don't have enough guys who are only playing hockey professionally who can make it work, for one. So that's a tough thing. It's really hard. There's been different plans over the years. The best we ever did was we got up to Division 1 year, and that was when I was still playing. And what happened was we had a good group. We had a good core of young guys that were coming up, and there was a few of us older guys. We had a guy named Mike Pellegrims. He was playing in the DEL, and he was the force behind it. He was much better than everybody else, and he was the fact that he was playing, guys wanted to play. So that had a big factor. And then there was a couple of older guys like myself. I'd got a passport. There was another Czech player who'd gotten a passport. We were a little bit older, and there was a couple of good, Belgian guys who were gotten a little older and were hanging around. So it was a good mix, and we were all. So we won the Division 2. We went up to Division 1. We played against Belarus, Norway, Hungary at that time. So it was, we got pounded, but we could play. It wasn't that bad. But since then, I don't really know what's happened. Part of it also, there's you pull a national team together, and we've been talking about this a lot lately. You pull a national team together, you bring guys in from all over the place. And sometimes guys get along from other teams, and it all depends on the season that just happened. We had a couple of tough seasons where the 3 teams in Belgium couldn't look at each other without wanting to kill each other. And then we wanted to try and pull these guys together for a national team. And it was my last year coaching, my last 2 years coaching the national team. I had 3 camps in the locker room, and I couldn't bring it together. We had a week or two to get ready for the championship and then go. I couldn't pull it together, and yeah, it didn't go well. We've got a good I don't know what you say. Our executive or our Belgian federation right now are good business people. They're making money. They're making steps forward that way, but they're not hockey people. I gotta be careful what I say here. They might be watching, but but they're not.
It's good to be truth. It's good to be truthful.
Yeah, they're not hockey people, and it's hard to explain to them how you got to run hockey people. They run businesses. They manage people. But it's not hockey players. And trying to explain to them, and this is what has to happen next. I think Belgian hockey needs a core of ex-players who need to all kind of get rid of their crest from whatever club they came with. We need to all kind of get together, sit down, because I think there's some young talent coming up that we could do something with. We'd have to get all of them, and they'd all have to work together, and they'd all have to be pointing in the same direction. If that happened, we could be successful again. But right now, it's not moving that way.
So what about like spring hockey and things like that to, kind of organize to be able to travel internationally and play? Like are any of these kids, like especially let's say ages of 13 to 15, all the elite kids, like I'm going to ask 2 really questions that are going to be like offside, but they have to be asked. Number 1, can they afford to travel? Like, can they afford to get on a plane, go to 2 tournaments in US or Canada? Number 1. And number 2, are they even good enough to come across and play like some of these to get some exposure over there and maybe start building that core together and then learn about international activity to build the relationships? Do you understand?
Yep. if with the right, obviously with the parents behind them, I think that the money part they could handle. They do some stuff internationally. They kind of put together select teams, maybe a couple of teams that get along well. They'll put together a select team and they'll go and play tournaments in Germany and France and stuff. And these are great. This is the thing that's surprising. They do well. They do well against German teams. They do well against French teams. They even do well against the Scandinavian teams. And this has been going on for a while. The problem is that, kids, they get into their late teens and stuff, and if things aren't, they get interested in other things. School's a big thing here. School's tough, and a lot of kids have a hard time combining school and sport. I'm a school teacher. I know that student athletes do it, but it's not the Belgian mentality to do both. It's like you need to concentrate on sport or school. And I try to explain to them that, what do you think a scholarship is? You're doing both. But it's hard to sell that idea here. A lot of kids will kind of put priority on school and let the hockey fade, basically. So,
interesting. Okay,
Jill, I'm gonna bring you back to the old days here again. Talk about Can Euro, Can Euro, and what gave you the idea to run that program for so long?
Okay, I'll tell you something. I loved running hockey camps. I really did. And I love that, Mikey, that bunch that you had. I called it. It was called Can Euro Hockey School, but I called it Zach and RJ and his buddies from Dover. I really loved doing the camps. It was so much fun. And it was, again, I didn't spend a lot of time with my nephews, because I wasn't there all those years. So that was my chance to spend time with my nephews in the summer and all their buddies. And I did the camps in Tilsonburg as well. And I don't know if you knew the size of it, but the camps got pretty big at one point. I was bringing about 60 kids over from Europe every summer I built a campsite out at the farm, and we swam in the pond, and I built an old bunkhouse I changed into a sleeping room and everything. And so they went to the camps in Tilsonburg, and did the camp in Tilsonburg, stayed out at the campsite. We did trips on the weekend, which again, I wasn't married yet at the time. I didn't have kids, so I was having as much fun as them. We were going to Canada's Wonderland, and we'd go down and we'd watch a Blue Jays game. We'd go to the Hockey Hall of Fame with them and all that. So my summers were a lot of fun, and it was all hockey camps and traveling around Southern Ontario, Niagara Falls, everything. So I did that for close to 10 years, I guess. And it was a great time.
That's awesome. Oh man, it just sounds like such a great life you got going. And funny thing is, Gil, is that we normally get people commenting, and we'd actually have a comment from a gentleman. I'm not sure if you know who he is. A gentleman named Ozzy Lagazzo. That's Adam Lagozzo's father. He's a great guy. This guy wrote a book, and you guys should read the book. He wrote a trilogy, in fact. He's a great guy. I'll explain a little bit about him. His son Adam came over, and what we did is he came, played with me for a season, and then he went back to school. He did doing his teaching degree, and while he was doing that, he did his placement for the teaching degree at the school that I teach at, the International School of Brussels. And we've done this. Adam's a great case, but we've done this a few times. I've had players come out of NCAA Division I hockey and come over and do master's programs in Belgium. Nice.
The reason being, it costs about 1,500 euros to do a master's program, and I think you know what it costs in the States. So, so we would pay their housing, give them a car to drive, give them a small salary, and pay their master's program. So we got really good players. One guy was from Colorado College. One was at University of Wisconsin. They're decent players. It was a win-win. We got great hockey players. They got an education paid for. So for them, they'd already been on D1 scholarships. This was like an extended scholarship to do a master's. And Adam basically was doing the same thing. He was his teacher's college was paid. We paid his housing, paid his salary, got a car to drive, and he did it at the like I said, he did it at the school where I teach at. So
that's so cool. I actually quickly looked him up because I want to see where he's from. So from Vaughan, Ontario.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome that you're able to get those guys. Now, do they have to have some type of European background to be playing your team and to be able to go? Do they have to be straight? Can they be straight Canadian?
Yeah. It's easier if they have an Italian passport. So Adam has an Italian passport, and we signed a goalie last year, Stefano Canelli, and it's another Italian name. The Italians they're all able to get passports. They say it's not easy, but they still seem to get them. But he also has an Italian passport. He played NCAA Division I hockey at. Boy, I wish I had my other computer here to look it up. But I think Mercyhurst. I'm not sure. But again, now he came over just to play. But it makes it easier for us if guys have a passport. But again, these two guys who came over, Wamgans and Springer, they were the two guys that came over from the couple seasons before. They were Americans, American passport, nothing else. It's a little more complicated to get the paperwork done and stuff. But yeah, that's it. You take guys from everywhere.
That's awesome. So talk a little bit about, I guess, the lifestyle that you live over there. You said that you've been coaching. How did you get into, decide to become the head coach there? And obviously you landed a phys ed job. Talk a bit about how that kind of both those things transpired.
Wow. You know what? That all comes with not having a game plan. I came over to play, obviously, the first year, and it was come over and have some fun. When I got asked to come back, they asked if I would coach. So I was the player coach the next season. And the season after, I did 2 seasons in a row when I was the player coach. And because of doing hockey camps and everything, at one point I was looking after the whole minor hockey program. So I was teaching the kids from basically the beginners, the 5 and 6 year old beginners, all the way up to the team right underneath us, the junior, the kids that were under 20, as well as coaching the first team. So all I was doing was coaching and playing hockey. Then how the teaching thing came into it, there's a lot of expats in Brussels, and there were some Canadians that were their family was over here. They were going to the International School of Brussels, and they were playing hockey in our program. And the mom of one of the kids was the athletic director's assistant, and she goes, we need substitutes in PE. Would you be interested in doing that? And I didn't understand the whole thing either. I'm thinking, in what language, what is this? So I went in and I walked into the school, which was the one I teach at now. And I started substituting in PE, which, Mikey, you know what it was at Can Euro Camp. Basically, that was the off ice was PE. So
yeah,
I didn't realize I had a background in it, but I had a background in it of about 10 years. And so that's what I started subbing in PE. And, things fall at the end of the hockey season. I decided to stay and finish the year because I could always pick up some money subbing and stuff. And then I started coaching on the track team, and I ended up helping with the golf team and stuff like that. And one of the other international schools in the area, so this is how I got into the teaching thing. One of the other international schools in the area needed me. A teacher got injured, and I had to cover the rest of the school year from April to the end of the school year. So I went there, and this is how it all happened. One of the teachers there, an older gentleman, had been a professional volleyball player. And I was working together with him every day. We're teaching together. And he said to me, he goes, this is kind of a natural for you. He goes, why don't you, become a school teacher? I said, well, I don't have a phys ed degree. Because you can get it. And I'm like, yeah, but how? And this is the beginning of online courses and everything. So he goes, let me talk to the director here. And he talked with the director of the school, and they came back and made an offer to me that if I could, they wanted to give me a job. They would hire me as an assistant, but they wanted me to go back and finish a phys ed degree. So they set it all up. I finished. It took me about 3 years, I guess. I finished off a phys ed degree, and then that's it. I'm a school teacher. So that's how it happened, really.
Now, do they have the same as the Ontario Pension Board, though?
Yeah, we're a private school, so no, none of that. But we do a pretty good pension plan too. But it's the funny side of it is school teaching in Canada is considered quite respectful, and when you're a teacher in Belgium, immediately people kind of look at you like, "Oh, you're a teacher." No, it's not really. When you say you're a PE teacher, it's like they kind of look at you like, "Oh."
So you failed at everything else.
Yes, exactly.
But this fell on your plate, and you were able to run, and you were athletic, so you were the gym teacher.
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't do anything else, so you ended up as so. Okay, I can live with it. But
that's awesome.
So just getting back into coaching here, Gil. Growing up or playing professional, who was your favorite coach, and did you kind of groom your own style behind the way that coach coached you?
Well, the coach who coached me the longest, I guess, is Dave Smith.
Oh, so,
Smitty. And so,
yeah, Smitty.
And you know the funny,
yes.
The greatest thing about Smitty is I got suspended a few times for firing a water bottle at a referee. I learned that from Smitty. So
yeah.
I love Dave Smith as a coach. He didn't like me. He gave me a tough time all the time. Just recently, a story came out. I totally forgot about it. When I was playing for the Tricats in Waterford once, it was around Christmas time, and I don't know how this happened, but anyway, me and a couple other guys, we got drunk, and I didn't know it was a game day. It was a weekend. It was a Saturday, and somebody saw me and go, "Aren't you getting ready for the game?" And I was like, "Game?" And then bad story. The game was in St. George. I got loaded in the car and drove to a game in St. George. I get in the room. Guys are trying to hide it from Smitty, and I didn't want to say anything. And I went out for warm up, and we had the Smitty warm up where everyone skate one way, hit the brakes, and go the other way. I kept going the same way and plowed into half the guys. The guys are trying to get me stand up, and again, everyone's just trying to hide me from Smitty. I get in the locker room. We're having the little talk before the game starts, and Smitty's got me first line center. And I had to announce to him that I was drunk. So he says the first line. He's like, "Okay, first starting line," and I'm center. And I says, "Smitty, I gotta tell you something. I'm drunk." And Smitty loses it. And so anyway, he goes, "Well, you're starting the game anyway." You can see Dave. He starts stamping his feet. So we get out. Game starts, and puck drops, and I fell on the centerman across from me, and I got face-off interference. So 1 second into the game, and I'm in the penalty box, and Dave is going nuts. He's screaming. He's throwing stuff at me.
Jesus.
I got back to the bench, and I sat on the bench the rest of the game, and I think I sat a few games after that. He wasn't too happy, but anyway. But yeah, the coach I had the most was Dave Smith. So yeah, I think I kind of follow his style. I've had a few suspensions too, like Dave. So
what over there in Belgium? What's the reffing like in that league you're playing in?
Like reffing everywhere. It's up and down. There are good refs in the league. There are, whenever you get a bad call against you, you think it's the referee's got something against you. We know it isn't, but at the time it sure feels like it. And I've had you had a few. And when I get in trouble, when I get suspended, things like that, it's been something like that, a bad call at the wrong time that costs you a game, and I lose it, and the water bottles go and the sticks go, and then I go. So, but the reffing's decent. I'm not going to complain about the level of it. It's everyone. I guess it's the same everywhere. I think the part of the problem might be with refereeing, like the league, is not enough ex-players actually reffing. So guys who can skate, guys who watch the games, maybe played a bit but didn't play that much, and so don't understand the heat of the moment, how a controversial call at the wrong time can really blow things up. So
yeah. Does do you guys draw well there?
And you know what? We don't. As far as a league, we've got some pretty good clubs in this Benna League. I'll give you for example, like Den Haag and Heerenveen, where these clubs draw 3,000, 3,500
Wow.
a game.
Nice.
They're in beautiful stadiums, and in Leuven we're still in an old rink with, if we get 300 people, we're happy. But we've been able to compete forever. We've had a good developmental system. We're very low budget, but again, I've been able to make good deals to get good players as imports on the team. That's helped us a lot. Again, it seems I know the coaches and all the other teams, and whenever they come to play against us, you see their heads shaking when they walk in the rink already. They're like, "Oh, this rink, these dressing rooms, But we give them a game. We battle hard every night, and we're able to compete with these teams. So are we going to win a championship soon? I'd sure like to win one before I die, but I'm happy that we compete every night, and my guys are happy that we compete. And I'm in a situation where I've got teams with more money on geographically either side of me here in Belgium. I've got to do a lot of work to keep my guys to stay in the club. They like the atmosphere, they like the team. They don't necessarily like me, but I think they like the whole setup around it. And that's how we've been able to keep a team together, a strong, competitive team in the league. But there are teams that draw well. There's two other teams in Belgium that they average at least 1,000 people a game. They've got lots of sponsors. It all goes hand in hand. You've got a crowd, you get sponsors. It's tough for us. We don't have a lot of fans. We don't have a lot of sponsors. We're in a great city, fantastic city, and maybe that's part of the selling point as well. Leuven's a good place to live, but
it's a grind.
Yeah. Every year is tough. Every year I feel like we're always starting at the bottom and climbing our way up, and so
then start over again the year after.
Yeah, we make the playoffs every year. We don't, we kind of skin in the bottom, so you're taking on the first place team right off the bat. But we play good games with them. These teams end up going on and winning championships, and they had as tough a time with us in the first round as they did with whoever they played in the final. So, we can be. I think my guys can be proud of that they're able to keep doing this year after year. So,
yeah, sure. Gil, I was talking to your sister, and she told me to bring up a memory to you of your senior prom in a Miami Vice suit.
Oh, I want to hear this.
Oh, you know what? You can't see this by looking at me now, but there was actually a time when people used to always say I look like Don Johnson. I obviously had a lot more hair and a lot thinner than I am now. But anyway, my senior prom, I did end up with a nice cream-colored Don Johnson suit, and I hope there's no pictures of it. There might be.
I hope there is pictures. I don't. Completely different. I hope there's lots of pictures of that.
Yeah, I hope not.
So do you have any aspirations? Like, do you think you can move at all, or you're pretty happy where you are?
Well, I'm 55. I'm already heading towards retirement here. My kids are in the school that I teach at. It's an expensive school. I would never be able to afford to put them in there if I wasn't teaching there. And so obviously if they're going to graduate from there, I'm going to have to stay there until they graduate, which will make me 62 at that point. My plan is to look at retirement after that. So I'm here for the next few years anyway. Whether I stay with hockey or not, I have to really think about this. One of the things that the coronavirus has done has made me kind of look at my own life. I've been doing two jobs my whole life. Right from the day I came to Belgium, I was helping a guy in a bakery. I was driving the Zamboni. I was sharpening skates. I was running hockey camps. I ran a sports shop in the ice rink for a while. It's always been that way. When I stopped playing hockey, I was teaching immediately. So I was, teach all day. And then, the thing about hockey in Belgium is when your first team gets the worst ice time. So my team goes on the ice at 10:15 at night.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I get home at 12. I and we, it's in the beginning of the season, it's 3 nights a week and 2 games every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm teaching full time, and then come home, get supper in, spend some time with the kids, and get them to bed, and then I'm heading off to the rink to train for an hour and a half or so, and then get home at 12 and don't get to bed till 1, and then I'm up at 6, and it all starts again. And with this coronavirus, it's been, I get to bed at a decent time. I feel better. So I'm gonna have to think about this. It's I love the game. Don't get me wrong. I love the game, and I love being involved with it. And but something's got to give, and I can't make it just as a coach. It's my day job that I live on. The money in coaching, and there are guys who do well in our league, but again, as I explained, I'm on a club that we have a small draw, small sponsor, small budget, and small salary for Coach Gill. So it is what it is. So I have to combine it with other things, and it's tough. So.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. I mean, we've been grinding here 12 years, from league to league, so I understand it. And shouts to my buddy Johan, just signed with SC Bern. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with them over there in the Swiss League. He's the new head coach over there. Yeah, so he just took the head coaching job after leaving Davos. So congratulations to him. Huge job, career changer, game changer, right?
Yeah, that's a totally different level.
Oh, 100%.
You can't even compare that. It's if he was in Davos, he's in a beautiful city, amazing crowds for games. The Spanglers there every year. That's an incredible place to be. No, I'm nowhere near that level. If I was there, I'd be the stick boy. So.
Well, he's worked really hard, and he was like us. He grinded it out and found the right areas, and increased his hockey knowledge, and he's earned the right to take this club. So it's a really exciting time to see guys like that succeed. So now what? I guess what's the next steps for the club, especially with COVID going on? Like, how are you recruiting players? What's the protocols over there?
It's tough. I'm trying to bring back the same guys that we had lined up for the 2021 season.
And sorry to interrupt again, though, Gil. Did you actually play this year?
We played 1 game and we won. So I've had the first season of my life we were undefeated. And I'm almost thinking maybe that would be a good time to stop as well. You had an undefeated season, Gil. Maybe this is it. But no, we played 1 game, we won, and then they canceled the season. There was talk of starting a number of times, but it didn't happen. And so we're right now. There's talk that we will start next year. We're starting to get things rolling now because we've got ice all summer. My team gets on the ice in July already. They kind of get out once or twice a week and just scrimmage and stuff. And then August we get to it. So that the plan is that we'll start next year. And it looks at this point like probably the same imports, probably the same players. I might, you never know, guys. They could stop at any time, but it looks like we're ready to go.
That's awesome.
What's so with those guys returning? Obviously, does that you say you don't have many 20-year-olds or close to it that play junior? Are they going to maybe your top tier teams push them back a year for development?
No, I've got a couple of young guys coming up who are going to have to try and make that step into the team now. And if we don't lose anyone, I might be in a luxury situation where guys will be competing quite heavily for a spot, which I like. Of course, every coach wants that. But again, we don't have a lot of guys coming up. Right now I got a couple of guys who I think can step in. And
did any of these guys end up moving on to other like bigger top leagues or continue on their path, or is this more of just a passover for them, kind of like maybe like a senior A player here?
There are guys on that road. You would say that playing for the first team in Leuven is their highlight, and they're happy with that. There are guys who are continuously wanting to move up. A number of Belgian players have went on to play. They've went into other countries and play. I don't know if you watched the World Juniors this year. Senna Peters, who was a player playing for Austria, is actually a Belgian. He's from Antwerp, and his father coaches the team in Antwerp. So there's there are players, and it's always been players over the years who went on. But at this point right now, I know there's a young kid playing at the U18s right now. Van Kolster is his last name. He's playing for Germany. So he's from the town right next to me. He started playing hockey originally in Leuven when he was a kid. He played in a town called Mechelen close by. And he went to Cologne and joined their junior program when he was, I'm guessing, 13, 14. And he just got a German passport and is playing for Germany. So there are guys trying to make these steps to play pro. Or get better and move on. But yeah, there's so few at a time. It's like every couple of years there's a guy or two guys kind of thing. It's never a big enough group to really make Belgian hockey move up fast.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of countries like that. Again, Latvia, Austria, obviously they've got pockets of players, but I mean they're kind of stuck in there in that group. Like you can't control, nothing you can do with Sweden, Czech, Finland. Like they've got control of the Europe market for the most part. German, Switzerland actually is one where I'm surprised they haven't taken a bigger step with like elite players. They got a few guys, but like even Nico Hischier was the best guy so far that's come out of there in a while, and I'm surprised they haven't made a step. So is it just because the European game and training is different, and just maybe there's more guys that could play in the NHL that just doesn't coordinate between the two?
Yeah. In Switzerland, and this is what I think is, if you've ever been to Switzerland, I don't know if I'd want to.
I've never even been across the pond.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, Switzerland. The hockey's great in Switzerland. The hockey's really good in Germany right now. The hockey's getting better in Austria, and these are what we would call our non-traditional hockey countries. In Switzerland, I think part of it might be that maybe guys, obviously the opportunity to play in the NHL would intrigue anyone from anywhere, but to play in the AHL maybe isn't. Then they probably would rather stay where they are. And I think if a player wants to make that development to get the NHL, obviously we know that they gotta spend their time in the AHL. And maybe a lot of guys just say no, and especially that's why a lot of guys are staying in Russia now. There's a lot of money in Russia, and so why would you? They're probably thinking, why would I play? You've got a small window to make money in hockey. They're probably thinking, well, why would I go and play in the AHL to maybe make the NHL when I can just stay here and do far better financially?
Well, it's funny you said that. I just quickly Googled it because I want to see what it is, and I'm like, why would you go to the U.S. and play in the AHL when you can stay in? I'm looking at Switzerland and LA and make 100 to 450,000 Swiss tax free.
Tax free.
And even in the B division, on average, you're making 45 to 100 per player. No wonder they don't get all those guys, because they don't want to be grinding it out when they can make a great living here. The cars paid for, hotels paid for, like everything's taken care of for them.
Yeah, and have a look at some of those rinks in Switzerland with the windows facing the mountains and stuff. Yeah, it would be hard to leave that. I think I wasn't lucky enough.
Yeah, and a lot of them probably don't have the same aspirations to play in the NHL with obviously in their country, when they can play for their hometown or somewhere in their country, right, and have their family watching. Like I said, make a very good living and be just as popular over there. I can't even believe the Alvestan in Sweden pays 20 to 45,000 euro.
Yep. Yeah, I found out all this stuff when I started working for an agency a couple of years ago on the salaries in some of these countries in Europe, and then it makes sense why guys wouldn't want to go to the AHL. And look, you have to. That's part of the process. You've got it. It's that toughening up process you need in the AHL, and I think guys are probably thinking, and the game. It's far more physical, small rink, far more physical, the fighting and everything that's involved. And a lot of guys probably just think, maybe I'm not built for it, and why not just
take a special player for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bill, I just want to touch in. I was kind of going to be my next question is talk about the agency and what it's all about for those who don't know about it.
Yeah. So Chris Wallin, originally the agency that I was working with was owned by Mike MacArthur. It was, Mike, his father owned the sports shop in town. Mike was a lawyer. Mike started the agency. Chris worked for him, Chris Wallin. Chris took over the agency a number of years ago. And I never saw myself as an agent. And I'll be honest, I'm going to say what was first said to me when I was asked to be an agent. I said, I don't want to be an agent. They're a bunch of snakes. But anyway, I'd been helped. Chris goes, you don't really realize it, but you've been an agent for years, because he'd been always contacting me, can you help me place this guy or help me place that guy? And I'd make some calls. Obviously I've been over here for over 30 years and I know coaches in different leagues, everything. So I started basically doing that. I really still don't consider myself to be an agent in any way. I kind of feel like I'm just a headhunter helping an agency. Chris slides me a player and says, look, this guy is, tired of the East Coast or whatever. He wants to go to Europe. Can you make some calls? So I basically contact him, and I don't do the whole selling, he's this, he's that, he's everything. I put together, here's his elite prospects. The coaches know, they make the calls themselves. They know I don't have to do any selling. I just kind of say, look, this guy's available, wants to come to Europe. What do you think? And I put this out to as many guys as I can. And usually there's some interest. Once there's interest, I kind of slide it back to Chris to do his side of the work. And once they've signed over here again, then, whether they need an agent again, they call you when they're in trouble, okay, things aren't working out here. Can you find me another team? And that's, that's about it. I don't have it's more than a full-time job to do that. When I first tried it for a few months, I realized how much was involved. And so I'm not really actively doing it anymore. I'm just helping out where I can. And because part of it's because I was in that situation, I was in North America trying to find a team in Europe, and it's tough. So if you got somebody on the inside who can make a few calls for you, that's great. And that's what I do, basically. Just make a few calls, get their foot in the door and let them make their own deal from there. Most times I don't even know what they're making at the end. Once they start talking, I just say, you guys want, you work it out. All good. Have fun.
That's Gladiator, right? Out of Woodstock.
Yeah.
That's Chris. Okay. Yeah. We crossed paths a long time ago. It's been a while, but I know exactly who he is.
He was,
that's great to get that opportunity over there though.
Yeah. He was actually helping out the year I came back and played junior indoor. I think it was my first or second year. And he was one of the assistant coaches with Tim Christo at that time. So,
yeah. Well, he does a lot with junior hockey. That's his thing is getting guys scholarships. And in fact, a friend of mine from when I was young, his son was, Max Coyle. Bob Coyle was he lived across the street from my grandmother. And he was like, my Max is like trying to get a scholarship in the States. So I put him in touch with Chris and the agents there, and they got him into where was he first?
He went out to the BCHL, didn't he, at one point?
He went there first, and then he went to Alabama Huntsville. Yes. And now he's in Bowling Green, I believe. Yeah. So again, stuff like that happens too, and that's not my area at all. The junior hockey part of it. Basically, all I really know is what I did. Canadian guys who want to try to go to Europe for a year, I can help them out. That's.
Well, listen, Gil, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I know you got probably a lot going on today. It's 7:00 over there now. I'm pretty close, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, we're really excited for you, and I hope the best for you, and hopefully you stay safe over there in Belgium.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just glad I didn't get any incriminating questions coming in. So.
No, nothing incriminating here. We got reputations to think about as well too. We're not that good at journalists, to be 100% honest with you. All right, let's just call a spade a spade.
Our stat guy called in today.
Yeah, exactly right. I want to thank our guest Gil Paelinck for joining the fellas this fine evening, all the way from Belgium. Off the Puck Hockey can be seen every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on Rogers TV Channel 20. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Off the Puck Hockey. I'm your host, Tyler Fines. With me, as always, as is my boys, but we only got one today. So Mikey Walker, our producer, Matt Huddle behind the scenes making it happen, Marty Zylstra for providing the theme music, and this is Off the Puck Hockey. Let's go.
Make sure to check out our past shows from previous weeks on our YouTube, Facebook, or Mixcloud channels. You can always catch up on podcasts while checking out our FHN Network channel on YouTube or Facebook. Or you can listen to an audio copy of our past shows on our Mixcloud channel at FHN_Network. The FHN Network, the future of entertainment.